everybody to another edition of our Mad as Hell TV. And today we're going to switch gears and switch up the topic, the subject. And today we're going to talk a little bit about BP. And before I go any further, I'd like to bring in one of our hosts of the show. He's called the Madman on the Streets, Mr. Paul Barlow.
I'm Paul Barlow, and I'm mad as hell. And I'm really mad as hell about this BP oil spill, and I'm not going to try to be funny because I'm mad!
There you have it. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to get Paul's views on this BP, the Gulf of Mexico, and what's happening out here with this oil spill. 2 and 2.
You know, like I know, you'll go get tested. I know too many people that done got burned, STDs, for having unprotected sex. I know it could be embarrassing to tell your friends you're going to get an STD test or HIV test, but you got to do it. Let's stay safe. 877-611-9620. If you wanted to be confidential, private place to go to, nobody knows about it, everything's clean. Get tested. Let's stop playing.
Welcome back everybody to another edition of Mad as Hell TV. And today we have a bit of a different topic that we're going to talk about. A lot of times I know when you tune in to our Mad as Hell TV, you see our madman on the streets, Paul Barlow, out there, messing with people, and but today once again we're gonna switch gears a little bit, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the BP oil spill. Okay, a lot of us are very frustrated with this ordeal, and we're wishing they hurry up and cap it off, and it is a hard thing to do, but there's a lot of questions and a lot of unanswered questions that we want to actually talk about today, and it's really give you a piece of our mind. But anyway, what I like to do real quick is bring in our madman on the street, Mr. Paul Barlow. Sir, how you doing?
I'm okay, but I am mad as hell. I mean, this is ridiculous, this BP oil spill. And I know everybody out there is frustrated and ready to vent, and I'm ready to vent, and so I'm about to blow up myself and explode about this oil spill.
Well, look, tell me how do you feel, what led you to this point of just explosion right now? Is it that it's not capped off, that it happened, that this...
Tony Hayward, the CEO of BP, he's unbelievable, his reactions, but to get back to what you originally said, about how the frustration where it started with the explosion itself. I mean, BP already showed, several curse words come to my mind when I mention BP, but I won't say them. But I mean, even the beginning of it, the explosion was caused because BP didn't have the right safety measures in place that they were supposed to have,
right.
On the oil rig. And so,
right.
As a result, right away, 8 people from BP, these engineers out there, get blown up, and that's when the whole thing starts, and that's when the whole world starts blowing. It's unforgivable, what has happened from the beginning on. And every step along the way, BP and certainly this mouthpiece, their CEO, Tony Hayward, have they just handle it wrong and continue to handle it wrong. I mean, but I'll let you ask me the next question, and then I'll vent some more. Welcome back to another edition of I'm Mad as Hell TV. I'm Paul Barlow, your madman on the street. Today we're at Georgia Tech, talking to people about the Gulf Coast oil crisis. Let's see what they think. We've got another Georgia Tech genius here, and he has some strong opinion about the oil crisis. Tell us, sir, about the oil crisis and how you feel.
Sure, I just think it's depending on who's to blame with it. I mean, obviously, it's a major natural disaster. It's a declared natural disaster. So obviously, the government has looked toward to solve that problem, but it's also a private. So it's a matter of whether it's a public thing versus a private option. And I mean, yeah, somebody needs to clean it up. Obviously, I mean, it's terrible. I'm from Florida, so it's ruining my beaches, but. I just hopefully the right equipment gets done and the right methods work. So sure.
Well, what repercussions do you think BP should face for all this?
I mean, definitely more regulations. I mean, I've worked with safety departments before, and it's just constantly it's safety versus engineering. It's profits versus safety and operation. Yes, safety gets in the way sometimes of making the most efficiency possible, but it needs to be there, especially when something comes up like this.
We're here live from Georgia Tech talking to some of the smartest minds in the world about the BP oil crisis. Sir, what are your feelings on the crisis?
I wish that they would just clean it up. It's a terrible situation for everybody. It's just not good in any situation, and they really need to do what they need to do to clean it.
How do you feel about BP in general? What do you think should be done to BP?
They should be punished in any possible way the law can take it. Whether it's a fine or maybe they need to shut down the company. I don't know. Somehow they need to get rid of the company.
perhaps public humiliation. What do you think about that?
Absolutely.
She's smart and she's a ravishing redhead and she's mad as hell about the Gulf oil crisis. Ma'am, how do you feel about the whole Gulf oil situation?
They really need to be doing things about it and stop putting it off and letting oil leak into the ocean.
If you could do something personally, you know, if you could talk to the head of BP, Tiny Tony Hayward, what would you tell him right now?
I would tell him to clean up his mess. It's bad.
Are you a Georgia Tech student?
Yes, I am.
Now, what's your major?
Computational media.
Computational media. So computational media-wise speaking, BP has spent over $50 million just trying to preserve their image rather than $50 million on the oil spill. How do you feel about that?
That's terrible. I mean, if they actually spend that money fixing the oil spill, then their image would take care of itself.
Exactly. Georgia Tech student who's mad as hell. Sir, how do you feel about the Gulf oil crisis and what can be done?
Well, certainly mad as hell. It's one of the worst ecological disasters that we've seen in any time in human history. It's something that's going to be affecting not just the region, but the globe, all the United States, and just opens the door for a lot more similar disaster. And the coming back from things is going to take a long time. President Obama's working in the right direction. BP's trying to be responsible for things, but just the level of disaster that we're at this point is something that's going to take a very long time for people to get back from.
And what's your major here at Georgia Tech?
Civil and environmental engineering.
Civil and environmental engineer, so you must have some solution in mind, like what should have been done even before this began?
Well, it's difficult to say when you're trying to pull a toxic chemical out from underneath, you know, a mile underneath the ocean, trying to pull things out of the ground. Something's going to happen. BP, other government agencies should have had higher regulations to try and make sure that these things don't happen. It's again all sorts of mechanical systems. You need to have maintenance, you need to make sure that these things are properly maintained, and when things go wrong, nobody knows what to do and nobody's accountable for it, so it really becomes quite a problem.
Just promise me someday when you're in charge of this stuff, you won't let this ever happen again.
I'll try my damnedest not to let it happen, but it's certainly the field I'm moving into is trying to help all of our water resources, help things out for the humans, for the animals, and for greater good to have the global environment and just make sure that everybody's benefiting from things as long as they can.
I'm your madman on the street. Today I have a very special guest that I want to talk to about the BP oil spill. And here he comes. Sir, what is your name? Oh, hello. I'm Tiny Tony Hayward. I'm the CEO of BP. Oh, it's quite a mess, isn't it? Tony, I want to ask you several questions, hard questions. Oh no, I want to get back to my life. I've had to answer hard questions for over 2 months. Do you know, I have been on vacation for 3 months. They sent me to Louisiana and Mississippi, and it's so oily there. The beach is ruined. Oh, I hate it, I tell you. We found two of the smartest ladies in the world here on the Georgia Tech campus, and they're mad as hell about the oil crisis. Ladies, what are your feelings about the Gulf Coast oil crisis? What can we do? What has to be done? Etc., etc.
I think BP need to get to work and get that oil cleaned up. I'm mad as hell. They need to stop procrastinating and do what's right for the people of the Gulf Coast and get that oil sucked up.
There you have it, some of the brightest minds in the world with their opinions on the BP oil crisis. And now, back to the studio for more I'm Mad as Hell.
You're live.
And now for the final thought on I'm Mad as Hell TV from Tiny Tony Hayward, CEO of BP. Tony, what do you have to say to the people of the world about the BP oil spill? Well, that does sound like I'm crying, doesn't it? I'd like to apologize. I'd like to apologize to everyone everywhere. I'm very concerned and I'm very saddened and I'm suffering. I'm suffering here. I don't like talking to people. I like to be on vacation sipping a tropical drink. Oh, my tropical drink has spots of oil in it. So anyway, I'm sorry. Can I go now?